and welcome back to another Beating Alpha episode. This is episode 100. So we have a very special guest on that part, Tyler Deveraux. A little bit of background, bio of his, things that he's working on and things that he accomplished, until now. So first of all, he's a managing partner of MF Capital Partners, a privately held multifamily investment company. And he has been investing in real estate for over 14 years. At the age of 21, he acquired his first student rental property, quickly understood the potential of the industry and never looked back. That's the way to do it, right? So today, Tyler controls over 1,500 apartment units throughout 5 different states with value north of $100 million. Tyler is also the co-founder of the Multifamily Mindset, an educational company that has trained thousands of new and seasoned investors to acquire multifamily properties, maintain a positive growth mindset, and live a rich, full life. So teaching, inspiring, and helping others is Tyler's true passion. Tyler now lives in Maui, Hawaii, so with his wife, Brittany, and their 2 beautiful kids, Paxton and Marley. So Tyler, I just want to say a big thank you for being today on the show.
Hey, Martinez, I appreciate it so much having me on, man. It's a pleasure. So thank you.
Awesome. So look, a lot of positive thoughts, a lot of great information about multifamily investing, a lot of, insights into your business and the way you operate. But let's start your journey with, 14 years ago, by the age of 21, where you acquired this student rental property. So maybe you can kind of explain us, how did you get involved in the real estate industry itself?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I was actually, I kind of lucked into it a little bit, if I'm being honest. So I had, I was going to school for a couple semesters, struggling through school. We're talking failing grades right through college. But I landed this job towards the end of my last semester, which was more of like, it was like not a sales job, but it was, in the internet space. I was like really pumped about it, right? Great job, started making good money. So decided that I was going to buy this property. It was a townhome that was in between 2 universities, and I was going to live there and rent to my, rent to some buddies. Well, really, at first I was just going to live there, and then like 2 weeks before closing, I actually got laid off from my job. And I was like, man, I was baffled by that could happen so quick. And so I decided to take massive action. Man, I decided to drop out of school. Because I didn't want to work for somebody else. For me, that was to get a job to work for somebody else. I was still going to buy that house because I didn't have a lot of money, man. I was hoping that other people could pay me rent instead of me paying other people rent. And then I started a business, and I actually started a web business that was, a great, that's, I would say my first like true real business venture, web design, web hosting. But then I started renting out this property, right, to students that were going to university, my buddies really. And that's where I really saw, I really started to see like the value of real estate and having multiple tenants and the passive income that it could provide. So that's kind of how I lucked into it. And then obviously I scaled and grew from there.
Got it. So 14 years later, here we are, $100 million assets under management, right? Like 14 years, it's been 14 years. So can you talk about your journey? I mean, there was the student rental property. Yeah. So maybe if we can kind of take this, property into smaller pieces, I kind of understand the process that you've been going through to acquire that first deal. I mean, did you raise any money for that? Was it your own money? I mean, how did you source the deal? Okay, can we go through the numbers and locations?
That first deal, so I say I've been investing in real estate for 14 years, but that's only because I bought my first property, when I was 21. But like, I wasn't a real estate investor, right? Like I just had a piece of property and tenants rented. This was back in the day, man, when all you needed was like a pulse, right, to get approved for a loan. And I had one of those, so I got approved. I probably shouldn't have been, but as I was starting this web business, and so I think I put like seriously $5,000 down, right? Like nothing, just a small little townhouse, but man, I made great profits on that, renting out to other tenants. But then as I was going through and I was starting my web business, I'll tell you this, man, I guess, goals, right? My drives, my purposes, it all comes down to time with family, being able to be in a position to give back and just, provide for my family the way that, they deserve. And so, and really sincerely, like at 21, I didn't have a family, right? But those things have been deep rooted into me since I was like, it's 12, 13. There's some things that happened in my life that just kind of made me very cognizant of time and family and values and just wanting to help. And so as I was starting this web business and growing this web business, as grateful as I was for that, I started becoming consumed by that, right? And I saw how real estate could be a different path. And so, I started really diving into it more, went to trainings to learn how to flip single family properties. And so I started to do that here and there. I wholesaled some properties. And then I had even like wholesaled a couple small apartment buildings, more because I had no idea how to purchase something of that size, but I had an opportunity come across. And so I put it under contract and wholesaled it. But multifamily is my bread and butter, man. And I started that and that's when I really feel like I took off in this space. Like that 100 million of assets, that's all multifamily assets. And all of that has been done over the past 6 years or so. And what happened is I was running through the airport and I ran into an old acquaintance of mine. His name's Ryan Woolley. And he told me, he was actually ran an internet business as well. And he told me that he had started to acquire multifamily properties or went to a training to learn how to acquire multifamily properties. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that was possible, And so I started picking his mind about it. And, I think it was like maybe a month or so later, I attended, I don't know if you know Dave Lindahl, but Dave Lindahl is,
oh yeah.
Do you know him?
School. Yeah. He used to have these commercials on TV before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So Dave, I went to one of Dave's trainings. He's once again a legend, right, in the multifamily space.
Yeah.
I started getting, I paid for, I started getting mentored by Dave, and man, I took off. And a couple years later from that, Dave has this 3-day class that he teaches. I started teaching that class for Dave, which is just a huge honor. So I taught his, foundational 3-day class for, man, I don't know, like the last 4 years, 3.5 years. It's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing. So to your first question, your question was, did I, raise money on my very first multifamily deal? Okay. I actually got into it a little bit different. It was a 20-unit deal in Birmingham, Alabama. I sourced that deal from a direct mail campaign, so directly from the owner. But that was also a different deal, man. I was terrified to raise funds, man. Terrified, for real. Like, I had never done that with anything single family. It was totally out of my realm. But so here's what I did. And also, I grew up with not a ton of money, man. And so I always looked at raising funds as like I was asking for help, right? And I hated that. So what I did on the first deal, it was $339,000 all in for that 20-unit in Birmingham. Which is crazy. I think it was like $50,000 down or something, but that was from a credit card that I had that I did like a check from the credit card for 0% interest. I sourced the rest of the loan from hard money at like 9% and took off on that deal. So that's a different structure. That to me made more sense for some reason than trying to raise funds. But it worked. I think I can't remember. I think it was like it was under a year, maybe 9 months later, I refinanced that property for it's like $465,000. So put $100,000 in my pocket, and I was like, man, multifamily is amazing. How can I dive in more? Then I started raising more funds on deals.
Here you go. So that's how the journey started. You got the bug. It was like, yeah, I need to get more of that, right? So awesome. So can you talk about, your deals going further? What strategy are you using currently when you acquire deals? Is it the same strategy? Are you using your own money? Is it like 100% bank financing? Do you raise capital? What approach are you taking?
Yeah, so we have a syndication model, right? So that's our bread and butter. We've been raising funds from, investors for the past, 6 years, ever since I did that first deal. So that's our bread and butter. So we, bring in private investors, right, that are, high net worth individuals. They'll invest anywhere from 50 to, close to $1 million, but I would say most investors invest 50 to 500K around there. And that's where we source the capital from. So it's a true syndication model, right? So now I try to invest in every single deal. And I do. I invest in pretty much every single deal that we put together. But the majority of the money is absolutely, so the far majority of the money is absolutely sourced from outside private investors through a syndication model, right? Mm-hmm. So we offer preferred returns, but we handle all the day-to-day stuff, right? Finding the deal from our broker relationships, guaranteeing the loan, putting our teams in place. We have property management companies that, we work for. We're some of their biggest clients at this point. So we oversee all that whole process, right? We have partners in different areas. Like you mentioned, I live in Maui, right? And I think it's so important to continue to have your eyes on the property. And I've been blessed enough, man, to have great partners, operating partners that I have strategically placed throughout the nation, right? So I would say our biggest focus right now is in the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. It's where the bulk of our portfolio is. We partner with a company or with two individuals. Their name's Greg and Lisa Parrish, and they are at the property regularly, man. And Ryan Woolley is my partner. Me and him will, visit the property at least once a quarter. Ryan usually goes more than that. But I think that answers your question. But syndication model is how we fund the deals.
Got it. Awesome. And again, you mentioned about the raising capital portion. So can you talk about, the ways that somebody who is watching and kind of brand new in the syndication industry, like the ways that you can build those, relationships for now or for the future to make sure that you will be able to raise the capital for the deals?
No question, man. So I think I look at raising funds as like planting a garden, right? Or a forest or whatever, you're planting something, right? You plant the seed, right? And it doesn't sprout immediately, right? It takes time. You have to water that. But you know that if you do those things, that garden is going to grow, right? Same thing with like running a race, where when you start the race, you don't see the finish line, but the finish line is going to be there. That's why when you're at, it's a marathon, you're at mile 13, it's why you keep going, because you know that the finish line is going to be there. Same thing with raising funds, man. I feel like the reason people will fall off is because they start having these conversations, they start planting these seeds, but they're not quite sure that that's going to bear fruit, right? You have to be confident that it's going to bear fruit. So first, man, is usually going to be within your inner circle, your sphere of influence, right? But put yourself out there and start having conversations. Tell everyone what you do. And I'll give you my, approach on that. Most people will go out and they'll start, talking all about themselves, right? Or somebody will ask them what they do, and maybe they don't even have like an elevator pitch that they've put together. Maybe it's just they're just straight up winging it. But most people, if you were to, real estate professionals, if you were to ask them what they do, in fact, I'll even ask you, Martinez, like if you ever asked anybody, a real estate professional, if you ever asked them what, they do essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's their elevator pitch? What would you say there,
Oh, the elevator pitch, like most of the time, it depends who you come across. So, like if it's a realtor, it's a broker. I mean, it's a multifamily investor, but I do I invest in real estate, like it's all about kind of them instead of saying, listen, I can help you to solve your problem, which is supposed to be the way the pitch is supposed to go. So they kind of talk about themselves most of the time.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
And I really sincerely feel like that's the problem, where we have to look at it a different way. And I feel like I've just been, I don't know where I really learned this, but I learned to take a different approach, right? So, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I promise you I'm going to circle back around, but I think it's important to talk about where, I try to look at it from the other person's perspective, right? Why in the world would, this individual want to continue to chat or invest, or what value do I provide? So I literally, man, I sit down and I think about how I can, pitch that to them. So if somebody asks me what I do, I don't say something along the lines of, I invest in real estate. I say, okay, Martinez, suppose that you have some some capital that you want to invest in real estate, right? But you don't, know how to identify a good property. You don't necessarily want to be a landlord, right? There's a lot of moving parts there. What I would do is I would take somebody like yourself, right? And I handle all the moving parts. So I find the property, put your money with other people's money, and then I actually, I guarantee the loan, invest my own money in there too, and then put our teams in place so that, together we can own an apartment building. And so essentially you can own real estate without having to deal with all the headaches, right? So I'm talking about them and them investing, and how I'm going to take that pressure off of their shoulders and still allow them to benefit without the headaches, right? I try to, the conversation is all about why this could benefit them in a very passive manner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So just talking about basically what you can do for them. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So those conversations are number one, right? But then it's putting yourself out there, making posts, being consistent, doing what you're doing, Martinez, like putting together a thought leadership platform, a podcast, a YouTube channel, posting on Facebook. What's crazy is the majority of my investors in the beginning were not people that I would have ever thought would invest with me. For real, like they're not people that I would be like, oh, hey, I'm going to call this person to invest. But I posted something that they saw or they heard from somebody else what I was doing and contacted me. But that only happens, man, because I was diligent in having conversations and still am to this day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the importance, again, we live in a digital kind of age. So, being present on social media is a must in this day and age. Because I just spoke just a while ago with a guy who is a professional actor. He's been like 12 movies. And I asked him the same question. I mean, how is the being known as an actor gives you leverage, on your deals? And he was like, of course it gives me the leverage. So, for people who are not like, they're not actors, they're business people, you need to become one. I'm not saying you need to kind of fake and, be an actor and pretend you're somebody, but you need to be famous. That's what I'm saying. So you need to be all over the place and know who you are. People actually, they need to know what you're doing instead of hiding behind the curtains and, so yeah, so that's
and
awesome.
You know why that is, and I can relate to this, man. I'll tell you exactly why it is. It's because if I'm being honest, when we pursue something new, right, we're not sure, right, what that's going to take, and so we're not sure how much we want to take. I'll never forget this. At the first class that I attended of Dave's, he said, "How many of you know for sure that you're going to do this business?" And I was like, "Me, no question. I'm doing this shit," right? And he was like, "Okay, go post on Facebook and tell everyone you're starting a new business." And I was like, "Whoa. I mean, what if it doesn't work? I don't know about that," right? It's like this lack of confidence. But here's the key. Things start to turn when you fully commit, right? Not dip a toe, but when you fully commit, knowing that there are going to be setbacks. There are going to be things that knock you off course. There are going to be frustrations. Life hits us, man. That's natural. But the key is when you're fully committed and you're diving in and you have truly made a commitment, I believe that the world then starts to conspire to help you accomplish that. But we have to continually focus on what we can do to get us there. Right?
Got it. So can we talk about the mindset piece, which prior to the interview, we kind of, you said, can we talk about the mindset, which of course we have to, because the mindset is in business is kind of everything. I mean, it's 80%, which probably is even more, and 20% is mechanics. That's what they say in all these Instagram quotes. But I think it's even more than 80%, because it's the way you think and the way you think about deals, about people, about, as you said, like first when you came across people and you were looking to raise capital, you thought about it as, man, I'm just asking for help. And that approach didn't help you, and you have to switch that approach from actually I'm helping people by them investing in my deals. So can you talk about some techniques and strategies, and maybe the courses, like books, seminars, anything that you have for the people, again, to break through those kind of thinking patterns?
Yeah, no question, man. So I'll tell you this. I mentioned that I struggled, thinking about raising funds, asking help, but I'll tell you when that switched for me. It was my first deal that I ever raised funds on, which is my second deal. And it was the first quarter after close. We sent out a distribution. It was like 2%, right, for that quarter. And really actually the first person that even ever committed to invest, invested 100,000, right? So he received the check for $2,000, and he sent me an email along the lines of, thank you so much. Like, so excited to receive $2,000. He's like, hey man, thank you so much. Like, I'm so excited to be part of this. I didn't even know that these types of deals were possible. I want to invest. He was a physician, right? So he made good money, but if he doesn't work, right, he doesn't get paid, but he didn't have time to learn how to acquire properties. And he's telling me this in the email. He's like, I'm so excited that I have a way and that you've provided this vehicle for me to invest. And I sat back after reading that email and was like, I was so proud of what I did and what I've learned, and like proud in a good way, meaning like I was just grateful, like sincerely grateful. I was like, man, I'm not asking for money, dude. I am providing value to these investors. And my mindset completely switched at this point. As individuals who have money, they have different problems than we do. Or like I have the same problem actually now, where in the beginning I would like, dude, who in the world has hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest? Now I'm like, well, shit, everyone is looking for ways to invest their money, right? The more money that I have, the easier it is to raise money, because I know that it's hard to find good investments to put my money into. So as far as mindset goes, okay, that completely like had a jolt in my mind of like how I viewed things, right? That was huge to me. But principles and strategies and skills that I use to maintain a mindset, right, for every aspect of business. So I think it's routine based for me, okay? So I started, and it's all focused around gratitude, man. First thing that I do, so I'm passionate about my morning routine. Okay, so I usually wake up at 4:15 or 4:30, usually 4:15. And first thing I do, right, wash my face, brush my teeth, and then I will say 3 things I'm grateful for. And that is, some people call that a prayer. I call that a prayer. I pray, right? And I say thank you to God for at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I also pray for other people, right? At least 3 people. So meaning, asking them to be blessed or taken care of. It's all I'm not asking for anything at that point. It is all gratitude, and it is all how I can, how somebody else can be blessed. And the reason I feel like that is key, right? When you are serving other people, and that's a small way to serve, to just say a prayer, right? But in my opinion, in the morning, very first thing, it's gratitude and perspective. I have this perspective of, man, I'm so grateful for these things. And I'm grateful that I can, have an opportunity to help these people, right? Even as small as that is. Sometimes I'll even get up from that and then, send a text message to somebody, or maybe even a little video message, just saying like, hey, hope you're doing well, right? Thinking of you, think you're amazing, say thank you for something. And then I write 3 things in my journal that I'm grateful for. So I'm going to tell you right now, to me, in my opinion, that has been the key to my growth, because I'll tell you how I used to wake up, man. I used to wake up, first thing that I would do is check my phone, and whatever was on my news feed or inbox would dictate my attitude and my focus for the day, which was very rarely in line with my goals, right? My major motivators. Well, first thing, by taking control of the morning, now it's gratitude, it's perspective. I write down 3 things that I'm going to focus on and accomplish that day. And then I continue to check in with those things, right? The other side of that is, reading. So the next thing that I do in the morning is I read. I read a ton. I love to just digest information. The book that I just finished today actually is called Thinking Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Phenomenal book. man, I loved that book. Just, it's all, you know, talking about service and gratitude. It talks a lot about gratitude as well, you know, and just starting your day that way, man. But here's the key, because we've all had amazing mornings. Things have went well. The toast is freaking perfect out of the toaster. The milk is perfectly cold, right? Like shit is just going good, right? And then you get out to your car and you spill your coffee, or you get cut off by someone in traffic, right? Or something along those lines happen. And life does happen. You know, I think to all of us, whether, and I feel like this is key in today's world, because whether we are, you know, being cut off in traffic or racially profiled or whatever it is, if we allow ourselves to become the victim at that point, even though maybe you are the victim, but if we really view ourselves as the victim, like poor pity me, regardless of what it is, it's not serving. Even though it might be correct, it's not self-serving. And so it's in those moments, man, to continue to just have systems or reminders to bring you back to reality. Once again, to focus on what you can do, your actionable items that you can control, and leave the non-controllables, man. And I know that I just have been rambling, but that routine, right, is just, I'm passionate about that, man. And the growth that I've seen from that over, I mean, I would even say over the last 3-4 years has been something that's hugely benefited me and my family and my relationships and my overall happiness, man. I'm grateful for that. There's no amount of money that money helps with happiness. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like money, right? I'm not, no question, but true happiness, that comes from perspective and focusing on what you can control.
Oh yeah, definitely agree, because you can be as poor as you want, or you can be as rich as you want. And you heard the stories, you know, where rich people having 3, you know, private jets, having multiple properties, you know, in Italy and Spain and all over the globe, and, you know, billion-dollar companies, and they're miserable people, you know. So you definitely don't want to be one of those people. So again, talking about mindset part and acquiring some good traits, like one of the traits that you said, like, we have to mention, that is sales. So can you explain why is that important for somebody who's looking to get involved in real estate business or any business, and how you can acquire that trait?
Yeah, you know, it's so funny because I told you I started the web business, and when I was 21, right? Well, that web business didn't make money for like 6 months. And so I had to start getting other jobs and trying to supplement as I was trying to build that thing up. And I got this sales job, and I was extremely embarrassed by that, because to me, sincerely, this is how I viewed sales. I viewed sales as, I didn't want to be the person who was selling things to people that they didn't need, right? And that is sincerely how I viewed sales, which is just funny, right? Because how that is switched. I never told people that I had a sales job, never, in the beginning, because I wasn't proud of it, right? I just had a different perspective, but I wanted to be the best. And so I started to, you know, look at the best people in that industry and what they were doing. And they weren't selfish. They were, in fact, I would say it's the opposite. They were selfless, right? They weren't prideful. They were humble. They were, like, literally, they all were different people, right? Like, meaning they had different tactics and techniques, but all of them came down to service. It was like they truly, to their core, just wanted to serve whoever it is that they were working with. And they didn't want to sell that person something that they didn't need or want. They wanted to help that person. And if that meant that they didn't buy, they were okay with that. That's mindset too, because they had an abundant mindset instead of a scarcity mindset, right? Scarcity mindset is worried about losing a sale because they don't know if another sale will come down. Where an abundant mindset isn't worried about losing an investor. Like, if that's not the best investment for him or her, they're not worried about that. And this is how I operate, right? It is, I only want that person to invest in my deal if that is truly going to benefit that individual. If not, man, there's a million other investors, more than that, obviously, right? But there's just a whole boatload of investors, right? That person needs to do what is best for them. And that's the sales approach that I took, right? Same thing back in my early 20s. And that was a game changer for me, because all of a sudden I was viewing things in a different light, where I was helping. I felt like I was straight up helping these people. And that is something that I had been longing for. Okay, at 19 years old, I actually saved up all my money, and I went and I did service for 2 years, man. That was a life-changing experience for me. And that was hard to like try to recreate in the real world, right? When I'm trying to have a job and pay bills and do all those things. And, but it's something that I knew that I always wanted to find a way to get back to, because I knew that true joy, true happiness was in the service of other people. And then I started to realize, man, that the way to wealth is to provide value, and that's service, right? Value I define that as, anything of worth or service, right? That, is when provided to somebody else, creates joy for both parties. And that's how I approach sales and everything that I do. So first off, it's service. You have to know that you're trying to serve the individual and quit being so selfish. We go into a broker relationship and a broker conversation. The first thing that, we know that this individual can bring us good deals, but we want them to bring us the best deals. So what do? We start talking about all me. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. This is my focus. This is my targets. This is whatever, right? Without just taking a second to understand what is the broker looking for. When I started to understand or study broker relationships or how to build those, I didn't study how to talk to a broker. I studied what are brokers looking for. Like, what are brokers trained to look for when they go to their training, when they go to their, system? What are they trained to look for in investors? And then I want to cater my pitch, my presentation, my conversation to meet their needs. So first thing that I do when I go in is I ask questions, man. Don't go in and talk, right? Which is why it's different, right? On a podcast, which is kind of fun, because you ask the questions and I just freaking talk, which is fun. It just is. But man, when I go into a broker conversation, an investor conversation, I'm asking questions. I'm listening, and I'm listening some more, and I'm figuring out what they need. And then I'm going to tell them or talk about how what I have or what I'm doing can help them. And if it can't, then I'm going to refer them somewhere else with no like expectation of anything, except I just want them to get the best for whatever they're looking for, right? And if I can provide that, awesome. If I can't, somebody else will, man. And all those things come back full force. So.
Got it. Well, that's a great way to look at it as a sales, as I mentioned, kind of sales, and you simplify it. And I mean, it does make a lot of sense. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. If you just look at the sales as a kind of service oriented job, and you should be asking questions instead of talking about yourself, as we talked in the beginning, and just helping people, it's whatever. If you're looking to acquire a deal, if you're looking to sell one, asking questions and always looking from service perspective. And you're saying, having this kind of abundance mindset, which you have, like when you said that, look, if the things are not going to work out, there is always something and it will come back. So it's the abundant mindset that will not put you in a position where you actually have to push people around and just be a bad person at the end of the day. So
yeah, I'll tell you, man.
Sure.
I'll say this real quick. Sorry. Because what you said, right? Pushing people around. That's how I viewed it, right? And I'm going to tell you what I learned from my partner. My business partner's name is Ryan Woolley, okay? And he is one of the most likable dudes that you'll ever meet. And I'll tell you why he's so likable. And listen, that's important for people to understand, is to understand how to be likable. And the most likable people are those who like the most people. Right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time our focus is inward, wondering if these people, like or care or value us or whatever, right? But it needs to be outward. And this is how Ryan like lives his life, man. It's outward. He doesn't even have time to worry about if they're liking him or not, because he's so worried about making sure that they know that they are liked and cared and valued and, whatever, right? And seriously, that is how he operates. And, you know, some like I would say my initial approach most of the time is like, man, but I don't necessarily want to put myself out there, right? Just in case they don't like me, right? Ryan doesn't have that even in his system at all. He just doesn't. He is so focused on making other people feel comfortable. And, you know, because of that, people feel comfortable. People like him. And I give him so much credit, man, for the growth that we've had in our business. And we have this rule, which is if we ever say something negative about someone, which happens through natural conversation, somebody irritates us, something happens, that guy's a dick, whatever, right? Something negative is said. If we say that on the phone call with each other or in a meeting with anybody else, we have to write 10 things that are great about that person. And what you'll find is that there's far more that are great about people than are bad about people. And we literally focus on and find ways to like people. And Ryan's taught me that, man. It's made a huge difference in my relationships and my ability to just connect with people. I'm grateful for that.
Wow, that's a very unique perspective. So I love it too. It's a kind of fresh perspective for me at the same time too. So awesome. Thanks for sharing those tips and kind of strategies that you guys are using personally. Again, 1,500 units and 5 states. Can we talk about which states are you currently investing in?
Yeah, so the Carolinas, we just did. So this year we closed a deal in Denton, Texas, but most of our focus is in the Carolinas, right? North and South Carolina. So right now we are just about to close. Like literally, it's a loan assumption, so we're just waiting for the deal to close, right? And it's a 138 unit property in Columbia, South Carolina. That is just a solid property, man. I mean, it's just like, it's the perfect example of, this environment and the opportunities that this environment is creating. These sellers panicked, essentially. The partner that, managed most of the stuff with their real estate portfolio passed away, unfortunately. They were trying to figure out how to still, maintain. They were horrible operators. They still are. And so when COVID happened, right, quarantine shut down, they're like, shit, we got to sell. And they just like panicked, right? They'd only owned it for 3 years, panic, sell. And we're picking that property up, man. That property, we're picking that up for $54,000 a door. Wow. Market comparables in that area are like $83,000 a door. So crazy value there, man. Crazy value that we're picking that thing up on. And here's what's interesting about it. You talk about mindset. This happened in, I think it was end of June when we were brought the opportunity. And I remember having the conversation with Ryan and like, man, I don't know, like, do we do this? I don't know how will our investors want to invest in this environment? It's kind of some uncertain times. You think of June, end of June, still very uncertain. Still uncertain today for shit's sakes, right? But uncertain, right? So we're like, man, I don't know, will our investors want to? We looked at that. We're like, you know what? Everyone else is sitting on the sidelines. Everyone. This is a great deal. We know it's a great deal. So no, we're not going to focus on fear and scarcity, because I have this principle and I have this belief that anytime we focus on fear and scarcity, we're limiting, by default, we're limiting our potential, right? So it's having that faith, that mindset that we're going to focus on what we can control. It was the easiest raise, 4.8 million, easiest raise that we've ever done to date. Not even a question. Easiest raise we've ever done, which is crazy. Okay. 4 million, sorry, not 4.8, $4 million dollar raise. So from there, now all of a sudden it builds a relationship. Now, right now, currently in Columbia, we have another 150 unit property under contract. So an 150 unit property under contract, and we have another 220 unit property that we're just finalizing last bits on the PSA. The other one, how big is the other one's like 180, so just under 200 units. So these deals that have happened and come into our lap because everyone else was sitting on the sidelines and we didn't, right? We focused on what we could control. I mean, man, it took me 5-6 years to acquire over 100 million in assets. And in this next quarter alone, so the fourth quarter of 2020, we'll close, I think it's like 38 million in assets, which will be our biggest quarter we've ever had. And every one of these are cash flow. We're not buying off speculation. These are cash flow, solid cash flow opportunities in an area that is attracting so much growth, right? Everything's heading to the south and inwards in the States. I know you're in Ireland, but I know you track, what's going on here, and it's moving south, man. And the growth that we're seeing and the traction that we've been able to, to gain has been amazing, man. It's something, once again, I'm just super grateful for. It's been fun. Busy. Shit, I'm so busy right now, but in the best way,
Got it. Well, I mean, it just compounded. Like all these years you mentioned, like working your ass off like 5-6 years to acquire these $100 million worth of deals. I mean, all those strategies when it comes to gratitude, sales, mindset, it just compounded over time. And you have the right people in place for you, and you have the capital available to you. And again, and you have a network of established, accredited investors, people who already have a lot of interest into investing with you. So, I mean, that's what times like these favor people just like yourself, because they are always ready, So it's not a surprise that, I mean, these things are happening for you, that it's easy for you to raise capital, deals are coming through. So that's what's happening. So, I mean, you deserve all that success. So
thanks, man.
So talking about the rest of the states, can you just cover, because I would like to kind of understand, like so we have South Carolina, North Carolina, which is Third Carolina. So what will be other states that you're investing in?
So I have assets in Alabama still. That was the first area that I ever invested. So still have assets in Alabama, Ohio, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina.
And it's just the reasons to invest in these states because of the baby boomers, because they kind of moving down south, so southeast, southwest.
Alabama there wasn't much strategy behind that. If I'm being honest, that's just where I first started.
Yeah.
And so, and I could get into a deal for cheap without having to raise funds, which I'm going to tell you, and you already know this, Martinez, but that's not the strategy to take. Okay. It's not the best strategy. But that's what I took because I was scared to raise funds. Everything, Ohio was, I like Ohio a lot. And so that's where, like, I went to Texas first, and that's because I moved to Texas from DC, started to grow and establish there. That was just a natural process. And Texas is obviously a phenomenal market. Same with Ohio, I love. But yes, pretty much anything past Alabama, where I first started, everything else has been strategically based on where is the growth happening? What's the economic environment like, right? Is it business friendly? Are there businesses moving in? I look at household formation. I look at business, growth, new businesses coming in, jobs, all that kind of stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. And do you have your attention on other markets, like hot markets that people talking about, like Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma? Are you planning?
I always have my eyes on. Yeah, so it's funny because any other time you would ever ask me that question, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, because I love those markets anyway. I'm always like looking at those markets, right? But right now, dude, we're so just blessed in the Carolinas. That is our very much so a focus, and Texas will always be a focus. Just I love that market.
So
but right now.
So sorry for interrupting. So can you take apart, like, what do you love the most about the state? Because people who are watching and maybe they're not from the States, same as I am, or maybe they're living in different states somewhere, up north, like in New York area, like what would favor your investments, for you to invest in those in those states, that you're mentioning, like Carolina, like in Texas, what do you love the most about those states?
They're very business friendly. Very, very business friendly, meaning a state like, let's say, California, as an example. Okay, it's like polar opposite of Texas and the Carolinas, because California is very tenant friendly, meaning you have rent control. You don't control your assets. You own a property in California, you don't control it. The government has limited and handcuffed your ability to truly control your business. And I don't ever want that, right? Of course, there's rules, laws, regulations. Those things are great, right? But if I need to, evict a tenant, I need to be able to evict a bad tenant, right? Which has obviously been crazy, over this last little bit. But if I, I want a business-friendly environment, and it's very important, man, for us to be able to operate and grow and have security, in my opinion. It's also key for growth, in my opinion. You look at California, businesses are flooding out of California. It's because the business environment is dog shit. Martinez, is dog shit. And so now, where does growth happen? People go where the jobs are. Now, that may be a little bit different in today's environment, this virtual world that we live in, but ultimately they're still going to go where the jobs are going. And so I'm still looking for, where are these companies going? And they're going to places that have strong, solid business environments. Like South Carolina is ranked #1 in terms of business incentives offered. So incentives offered to businesses, right? Tax incentives, grants, all sorts of things, that they're offering to these businesses to move in, which means businesses will move in. They'll move in, right? And when businesses move in, so do people. And people that's the demand. I offer a product for people to live in. And so that's the demand that I need to follow. But it also allows me to run my business too, which is critical as well. Those are the indicators. Those are the things that I'm looking for that are just extremely important to me.
Got it. Yeah, it makes definitely sense, because California is one of those states. Well, it's a place of what was it, the Lost Angels or something like that, right? So there's a lot of people moving from north, and that sort of area, California, that side, towards like the states that you mentioned, like Texas and Carolina. And with that, big companies also move in, like Amazon, Facebook, and a lot of Silicon Valley type of companies move into those areas, which of course will provide the workforce, and that will give kind of people opportunity to work during these times. So talking about, again, 134 million in total, like when it comes to the asset, it looks like you're going to be there very soon. And like you have another source of kind of platform that you help people to get to these type of levels, which is called a Multifamily Mindset. It's an educational platform. So can you talk about the platform and what people should expect on the platform when they're going to access to it?
Yeah, man, this is something I'm so excited for. I've been training, like I said, with Dave for a long time. I've trained thousands of students, and I'm going to tell you, that has been so fulfilling to just, train somebody, even though I know that I spend, I have this small hand in what they do, but it's training them and seeing them better their lives and the life of their families. It's very fulfilling and gratifying. And so, I had this conversation with Dave, and I told him, hey man, I would love to create my own education type company, and told him what I was going to focus on. And because I love Dave, man. Dave has been a great mentor for me, and somebody that I value his relationship and everything that he's taught me, man. I'm sincerely just extremely grateful for him. And he gave me his full blessing. This is, it speaks volumes to him. He was like, because it's funny, but I was kind of like almost a little bit nervous to tell him what I was doing, because I didn't want to ever like rub that relationship wrong, right? But this is how Dave is the epitome of a growth mindset, of an abundant mindset. And he was like, dude, no, you should absolutely go start your own thing. Like, man, that's how we're wired, is to grow. And he's like, I don't want to hold anyone back. I want to help others grow. And he's like, I'm so grateful for what you've done in teaching and, training, for my company, and, for the value that you've created. And he's like, I want to help you do your thing. So he's like, this was, June, July, and we do our very first live event in a week and a half. And so what it is, it's, we focus on certainly multifamily. It's called the Multifamily Mindset. but we focus on the multifamily space, like, the foundational type training, but also mindset principles behind it, with also a focus in sales. Because I just feel like as I've went through this, as I've trained students and I've heard back from students and I've had these conversations of what they're struggling with, I'll tell you what stops them. Multifamily education, knowledge, it's not hard to find it. It's everywhere out there. Like the problem isn't lack of information. I would say it's probably too much information. Like, what should I focus on? What is key? So our focus has been to take all this noise, all this information, right, and funnel it down into literally like step-by-step actions of what you need to do to get in. You're going to learn it, right? But it is a process. Learning, growing, that is a process. And this is what you should focus on and do first. Then you go here, right? Then you go here. And weaved into all of that is mindset principles and sales strategies to help you understand how to position yourself with brokers, how to position yourself with investors, how to position yourself with, different operating partners and people that you're looking to do business with. And man, my goal and my desire is to help people far past multifamily, man. I want to teach them strategies and skills with, mindset and sales and everything that will serve them in every aspect. Mindset, man, the reason I'm so grateful for it is, yes, it's helped me business-wise, but man, my greatest, most important asset is my family. And I'm so grateful for my wife and my kids. And I want to be the best person, the best husband, the best dad, the best that I can be, man. And as a community, we can help each other do that. And I want to say one thing, because you mentioned earlier something like you deserve, these deals that are coming across your desk, and, you're always ready to take action. And, the truth, Martinez, is that I've surrounded myself with people, and this is something I'm very blessed with and grateful for, but I've surrounded myself with people that continually keep me in check to help make sure that I'm in, a proper frame of mind and ready to move forward. My wife, my business partners, and a network of people that all have this, go-giver mentality. I don't know if you've ever read that book by Bob Berg, but it's a great book.
Yeah.
And those people, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, those people, man, any success that I have is because of people that I've been just blessed to surround myself with. And I want to just connect people, man, and help. That's why I started this business. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, definitely we can sense the excitement, even though we're watching you through Zoom on YouTube, or maybe somebody's listening on a podcast on iTunes. Still, we can feel the sincerity, the go-giver mentality, and all the pieces are there, because you're here put to provide the service, and it comes out naturally because that's who you are, right? So look, the one thing,
I appreciate that a ton.
Hey, look, it's all you. So look, one thing that I wanted to touch about, because we spoke about mindset, which is the important piece in a business. You need the sales. Again, we have the training. Now it's the multifamily mindset part. We have the educational system in place. Can we talk about the importance of setting goals? Because one thing that we spoke about prior to the interview, you said, I'm so blessed and grateful to achieve my goal now to be in Maui. So can you talk about your goal setting process?
Yeah, I used to be the worst goal setter, Martinez. Holy word, the worst. I wouldn't set them. And I wouldn't set them because I didn't know if they were really attainable, or really even what I would need to do to attain it, right? So I wouldn't set goals. I'm serious. I would say that I learned that when I started this side of the business, the multifamily business, probably 5-6 years ago, which is really being able to define what I wanted life to look like, man. And I think that the biggest pandemic isn't the coronavirus. I feel like the biggest pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it, is not knowing what you want, man. You have to define what you want. And I'm talking about how do you want to live your life, man? Like, what do you want to do? How do you envision it happening, right? And you have to look 5, 6 years, whatever down the road and determine what you want that life to look like and then work backwards, And in reality, anything is attainable. Everything is attainable if we can define it. And then, and I believe this to my core, Martinez, is then you only pursue things that are in line with that goal. And I'll bring you full circle. I told you briefly that, when I told you that family, right, and time and being able to provide for family is a huge motivator for me. That's because, my parents split when I was younger. My dad had started a business under the best of intentions, right, to better the life of his family. But it essentially is what kind of broke the family apart. And it's because my dad, even though my dad is one of the best dudes ever, man, I love him to death, but he became, consumed by this business, which happens, man, and it tore our family apart. And I was raised by a single mom with 4 kids who just had, she was the happiest, funniest. I love her to death, man. She's the best mom ever. She just is happy, funny, and would do anything for her family. Okay. So I saw this as a young kid. I saw not having someone there, the biggest impact that had on my family was not financial. To me, it was, dude, I missed my dad. I wanted my dad there and I hated not having him there. And that's not a sob story, Martinez. It is something that, believe it or not, I'm so grateful for, because that has developed this freaking deep-rooted desire, man, to make sure that I want to be at everything, man. And so anytime that I've started becoming consumed with the business, it's delegating, it's selling off, it's taking another direction to make sure that my goals, which is my family, is in line, man. And I've always wanted to be in a position and a way to be able to do that. And my wife, our goals are very much aligned, man. Brittany, I would never be where I'm at without my wife, Brittany. And when we first started talking about getting married, we talked about how, when our kids are young, before they get into school, we would love to move to an island, move somewhere, right? And spend unobstructed time with them before they start school. Because, once they start school, they have their own agendas and their own things change, right? And I didn't know if that would ever happen. My wife always wanted to move to Maui. I didn't necessarily know where I wanted to move, but she knew she wanted to move to Maui. And that's because my wife was made to live here, man. And it almost didn't happen, meaning for me, I almost didn't move here because it is different, right? But man, a year and a half ago, because we set this goal and because I had this goal of time with family, and I continue to just stay hyper focused on that, we were able to move to Maui, man. And the plan was to live here for a year, but I'll tell you, we're never moving, because this is, it's been an amazing opportunity, man. This past year, Martinez, before, all this stuff happened, I would say from July 2019 to January 2020, dude, I didn't do anything except play with my kids, go on adventures, go hiking, go to the ocean every day, man. And I'm grateful sincerely with all my heart, man, to be in the position to do that. So, and still, right now, I've told you, I'm busy, right? But all of those things are for a purpose. And I'll tell you right now that even as busy as I am, man, we are selling a property. We're about to close another property. We have 3 other properties under contract. I'm starting an education business. It's busy, okay? But no matter what, Tuesday nights are date night with my wife. Wednesday afternoons, full afternoon is just spent with kids and playing and having fun. Every morning, there's time before I ever go into the office. Every night, there's time before they ever go to bed. That's unobstructed, no phone, just them, man. And so I don't even know what the initial question was, man. I think goals and moving to Maui, but just straight gratitude, man. Those things were, I didn't know what I was doing at 13 years old, setting a goal to spend time with my family, but it was so deep rooted that there's nothing that could take me off track of that. I won't ever allow anything to take me off track of that, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and that's a beautiful goal to set, for yourself as a family. Again, to shout out to, I guess, to your wife, for putting that goal out there and making things happen. Because during these times when the COVID is here, I mean, there's a lot of people who would be dreaming like, man, I would be somewhere in a distant island, somewhere in the beach that I can relax with my family right now while all this craziness is going on around me. So you're in a good place, and you made sure that you moved there before things turned out to be the way they turned out to be. So again, it just shows that you're, again, who's ready and who's prepared, who has the right mindset. It's just, you become lucky. The quote, like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So that's what's happening.
No question.
Yeah. So again, you
hey,
meeting. Sure. Look, you're meeting all these different people. I mean, you're being on a podcast just like this one. So I'm grateful to have you on today. I mean, you're meeting with, accredited investors, your podcast events, meeting people locally, like you're all over the place, right? Teaching all the people on the multifamily mindset part on the educational side. So you're coming across a ton of people, right, on a day-to-day basis. But like, the question is, it will be kind of a little bit esoteric for you. Like, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind you?
That's a great question. And I forgot to tell you this. I have another call in 5 minutes that I have to jump on. So I have a hard stop in 5 minutes.
We're going to make it.
Sweet. Just make sure. So my legacy, man, dude, so life is so crazy, how it's just crazy how you think about things and how life progresses. And I had a buddy of mine pass away. I think it was 2 months ago now. It was a close buddy of mine. We're talking lived across the street from each other growing up, played baseball with each other for our whole lives on the same team, just my good buddy. And anytime something like that happens, it really it really puts things into perspective of like how you want to be remembered, what the legacy is. And Martinez, that's when I decided that's literally after the funeral is when I called Dave and told him I was going to start my own thing. And here's the conversation that I had with Dave. I said, Dave, what are you most proud of? Like with everything you've done, hundreds of millions of dollars, what are you most proud of? And he said, the difference that I've been able to make in the lives of other people. He's like, what keeps me going, what drives me is at my funeral, I want people to say that guy made a difference in my life. And I told him, man, I want to do the same thing. And I said, and you've given me a platform to do that. And teaching for Dave's classes provided a platform for me to do that. But dude, I wanted to do it at a different level. Shit, dude. Talk about legacy, make me cry. That's a dick move, Martinez.
No, you're just an honest, just an honest, a true guy, and it comes out, So you just, when you I do understand the emotions and all that part, because I think we all been in the place, like you constantly now living in the place where you're constantly grateful, and that's what's happening. You're just so grateful because of what's happening in your life. Because you made a lot of good moves, like if you see somebody who's doing bad and they're over 60 and they're working in McDonald's, I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of those people, I mean, but they made a lot of bad decisions. So same works for somebody who's successful, because they make a lot of good decisions. Well, at least they make a little bit more good decisions than bad, So
for sure.
So, and that's what you're so grateful for, and that's why the emotion comes out. So, but it's a blessed time. So thank you for all the emotions and all the no honesty and all the information. It's been great. It's been great, Tyler. I really appreciate it. So
I appreciate you giving the platform, man. I always love doing stuff like this. So thank you very much for sure.
Awesome. So just one thing for you guys and girls who watched the episode, if you can pass this episode to a friend of yours who's always talking about real estate investing, how does he want to get involved but never pulls the trigger? I think this episode could be really great for that person because there will be a lot of great insights from mindset, goal setting, sales, marketing, you name it. There's a lot of great pieces that can person that take away and implement and start his own business or invest passively, whatever he wants to do. But Tyler, really appreciate you spending this quality time with me today. And guys, as always, I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much, man. Take care.